Hi guys, how's it going? So I was going to just talk you quickly through just the pieces of gear that I have here. And basically, these are 3 electron pieces. They're the main pieces of kit in my studio. I do also use other bits of hardware like modular, a Dave Smith OB6, like various other bits and pieces, 303, etc. But these are brilliant because I can use them in a live situation. And 2 of these are actually samplers, so it means that I can sample the pieces of gear in the studio and obviously just have it on the road with me. Also, I really love the electron sequencers, so they're much better than a lot of the older kind of say the Dave Smith sequencers. These are really intricate, and you can basically have things evolving over time, and it frees up your hands. So it just keeps things interesting in tracks and also obviously in life situations where you need to be maneuvering lots of things at the same time. So basically you have the analog rhythm, which is a drum machine, analog drum machine and a sampler. You have the analog 4, which is a 4-voice paraphonic synth, and then you have the electron digitac, which is a digital drum machine and a sampler as well. So I mainly use the analog rhythm for drums. I use it for effects, percussive sounds, and you can use the stock drums in the analog rhythm, but then you can also load your own samples in on top. So it just makes things a bit more interesting, makes it a bit more unique and your own as well. And then I'll have samples of records, samples of my voice, samples of other synths in the studio, all in here as well. And I tend to use it a lot for effects layers and just these things that sit in the background of tracks that really kind of beef them up and just give them some depth and texture as well. And then the analog 4, basically I use for lead sounds, bass sounds, percussive sounds, and effect sounds really. I don't use that for drums at all, really, just percussive sounds, more like hi-hats and whatever else. And then the digitact I use for everything. This is brilliant. If I could only pick one of those to work with, this is probably the most versatile because you can basically sample anything and load it in there. And obviously there is some really good stock sounds in the actual machine itself as well. And they all have, as I said, these brilliant sequencers where you can do things like trigger conditions, which basically informs the machines of how often something's going to happen in a track. And you can have it on random, or you can have it happen, say, 4 times out of 8, or whatever number you choose, but it just keeps things interesting, keeps things moving all the time. So today, basically, later on I'm going to do the live, which is basically, I'm using all of these 3, and then I'm using the Big Sky reverb pedal, Strider reverb pedal, which I use just on sends on the mixer. So basically it's really good. I got it on a reverse reverb, so basically when I push the sends on the mixer, it just has this kind of swelling sound, and it's just really good for build-ups and breakdowns and stuff in the live set. It just keeps things interesting, makes things more impactful, when you pull it out then and you have the drop. And then everything is running through this DJ mixer. So each of the instruments have their own channel. It has an effect send on there. And then at the ends of the chain, I have the boom. So it's basically like a saturator and compressor, and it just glues everything together. And it really brings up the highs in the track, and just because obviously it's quite raw sounding, and how you hear the live will be different to maybe how you'd hear my finished tracks, because I've spent time in the box EQing everything and getting it really polished sounding and bringing it all together. So in this format it's quite raw, but this helps kind of glue things together really. So today, later on you're going to hear me do the live. So just to give you a bit of an insight, when I do live, for me, live performance, improvised live performance is, sometimes I find that people can get a little bit lost in it, and it doesn't have direction. And because I've always been a DJ first, I like things to have a bit of a narrative and tell a story, and have a start, a middle, and an end, and have different sections that I can go into, and it's all about, for me, energy, and you're keeping that momentum up, and you want to keep things interesting. And for me, so I approach it like a DJ approach, how I would approach a DJ set. So I very loosely have loops basically, and most of the music that I make is quite atonal, so it doesn't matter where I kind of pull it from. The majority of the time it won't clash, like it'll be fine, like there won't be massive like key changes, and I'll obviously make a mental note of anywhere I know where it's going to be a dramatic kind of change up kind of thing. So yeah, so in essence when I do the live it's kind of like DJing my loops, and then within those loops I'll be improvising, and basically so it's a bit like 50-50, like kind of loops are already there, and then within these 4-bar loops I'm just basically seeing where I go with it, and I have like different sections of like a hypnotic section or a broken section or drum change ups, kind of loops that will take me in a different direction, transition loops, etc. And then obviously I've got the effects, just to kind of add like the extra layer on top of it. So that is how I do the live, but today what I'm going to do is actually to show you how I get an idea going in the studio. So when I go into the studio, it's very rare that one of these is on, they're usually all on together, so I use them kind of as one machine really. So like say for example I might get the drums going on here, but then I might start off with the sound on the digitact and then think, oh this needs beefed out a bit, but I know there's a sound I can go to in the analog rhythm, or sorry, the analog 4, where I can layer that sound. So it might be one sound coming from 2 machines basically, but it's very rare that they're not all on together at the same time. So yeah, they're kind of my babies. So yeah, so I'm just going to get a bit of an idea going and just let's see what happens. Okay, so I will talk a bit as well, but for now I'm just going to pull down the fader. I'm just going to get some drums going. if you've got like a breakdown or a build up or whatever, just to kind of create like some tension. So just kind of like a short kind of here.
Really good. Yeah. So, like, from what I can gather, with the Digitax, you said you recorded one loop from one module at home. So, like, from what I can gather, it's what you do and what you have instead of looking for loads of new things.
Yeah.
You're using just basic LFOs to keep it moving, keep it like that played for like what, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and didn't get boring.
Yeah, that's it.
So
So you are like the biggest factor, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can go around the room and like sample things, you know, bang different surfaces, slam doors, whatever else, and make your own drum kits. And it's all about you, like your imagination, really.
Yeah, I was showing Dylan earlier, like what we done for Miracles was doing the top of tune rooms.
Brilliant. Yeah.
So yeah, it's just being creative and like just creating those basic call and response.
Yeah, exactly.
What I can see there is just simplicity wins. Like really interesting.
Yeah.
I'd be keen to see how you get ideas going on the modular. Super good. That mentality.
You have to be really disciplined with the modular though, because you just get lost. And I'm like, that's it. But that's why I do find using this really helpful, because I can, like, because I know that I don't take the modular out for live, I'm disciplined. I'm like, right, I found a patch, record it now, because if I don't, it's gone forever. Do you know what I mean? You won't get it exactly. It'll never be exactly how you like had it originally. There's so many variables and stuff, but but the modular is great, but you definitely need to be disciplined with it. I'm sure you guys know. Bank balance as well.
So it's kind of like your advanced DJing, like you're treating like each of those machines as like a really
for the live it is.
You've really control over every aspect.
Yeah.
But it's quite impressive. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah.
What would be the main things you'd assign the LFOs to?
So to be honest, like a lot of the time it would be frequency, the amplitude volume, the amplitude, the envelopes basically as well, the ADSR, what else? I mean, you've got the second LFOs in here, so you can set the LFO to the other LFO, like this, they've added a second LFO in here, and you can set one off the other basically. But yeah, mainly just to keep things moving, like keep things interesting. So really, like the envelope and the filters really, and the amplitude. Yeah.
Anyone else?
This box here, is that part of your setup as well?
This one?
I noticed a couple of people had it.
Yeah, so that's the one that is, it's called the Baum, so it's auto Baum compressor, and basically it's a saturator and compressor, and you can use it on just one instrument to really like beef things up. It's like it can there's like a drive function on it, so it's like really like gnarly sounding, but I just put it at the end and just with a little bit of drive, but it's more just to kind of glue everything together. Because sometimes with the live, like obviously how I make things at home sounds totally different to when you get to a club, because I don't have a sub in the studio or anything, so sometimes the highs can be a little bit shy in the live situation, but this really brings them up and kind of like glues everything together. And it's handy because obviously you can fit it in like your luggage and stuff as well, so yeah.
Do you adjust it a lot during on the sound check, or you have like a preset on it?
I try and stick to the preset just because I know in my head, like to be honest, like sometimes if I'm in a club and like a lot of the time when you do the sound check it sounds terrible because there's nobody in there, so you're like, fuck. But then if you do it in your headphones, you know that it sounds exactly how it should, you know, that kind of way. And then obviously once the club fills up, I mean, it's always important to go off the monitors, But there's not many situations where you can actually sound check on the floor and feel happy before the gig and stuff. But yeah, with this, I tend to just keep it on the setting that I know works, because obviously every single space will have different reverbs and like, you know, just this, it will sound different in general. So I kind of just go off what I know basically. Yeah. And what I do is I usually just take a picture, because when it was in the luggage, all the knobs get like knocked around and stuff. So you get in, you're like, oh my god, what's going on? But it's just because it's like, yeah. So just a photo is always handy. Yeah.
On the analog 4, like I'm always kind of like I make a kit,
Yeah.
and then I'll change a pattern, and then my kit gets erased. Like, does that ever happen to you, or
So
how do you kind of avoid that?
every time I work in a pattern, I save the kit to it every single
Every
time. I
single
just
time.
like train myself to do it, because it's done. Like when I got in here today, actually, there was a different kit loaded, and I was like, "Where's my patch gone?" But it was just because I hadn't saved it to the right one, and I was able to load it again. But yeah, I just got myself in the habit straight away when I'm working within a pattern to save it to the relevant kit number, so the exact same.
Okay, so you just do it by number,
Yeah,
pattern, kit,
letter number, exact same. Yeah.
And do you use Overbridge a lot, or
I don't use it at all.
at all?
No.
Hardcore.
No, like I know, I just use so at home I got like a Midas 16 channel Firewire desk, and I just so I learned like the hard way, just you should have separate cables for live and separate for the studio. So it just means when I go home I can plug everything straight back into the setup in the studio, and then I have the travelling cables which are different anyway for this mixer. So it just means it's a lot easier just to basically set up when you go
Just
back.
get back to work.
Yeah, exactly. And then goes into 16 channels on the desk, and then there's a Firewire cable that goes into Ableton, and Ableton picks that up, and then I just multi-track everything. So I've got like a template in Ableton, which is, you know, there's some groups already done in it and stuff, and I don't use the clips, I just use the arrange screen in Ableton.
Okay.
So just like multi-tracking things in, but like I've got like a very short like window with working in the box, so I have to move quickly, you know, because
Yeah.
I just get a little bit like
You'd be there all day
motivation.
otherwise. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so just have to have these things in place, and then yeah. So I don't use Overbridge, but that works for me personally. I can just use the Firewire for multi-tracking and stuff.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So when you get to Ableton to say create a finished product, you're multi-tracking into what was the desk again?
The Midas.
Yeah,
16.
so all of these, are you breaking down each individual stem, or are you grouping, say, per instrument? Like, you know, you have multiple sounds coming from a single instrument, so
So
how
yeah.
specific are you getting with it when you hit the box?
To be honest, nearly everything's got its own track in Ableton. Sometimes percussion, because these actually share the one voice, so some of the electron pads share the one voice, so I'll just whack them in on just one channel. But even with, say, for example, here where I copied this sound over 3 times, in the box I will still separate them, because I want to just make sure that I've got a control over where I want them to sit. And then I'll use things like Microshift, which is a Sound Toys plugin, but it's like a stereo with kind of processor, and I can put them in different positions in the stereo field as well, so it just makes it sound wider or whatever. Yeah, so it just gives you more control. Yeah.
Big fan of the Sound Toys pack.
Amazing,
Yeah.
aren't they? Yeah,
Yeah.
they're so good. Yeah.
Anyone else?
Oh,
You know when you had that gnarly sound you said, and then you made like a layer on top of it and changed around, would you consider that one instrument, or would you use it separately?
do you mean when I record it in?
Well,
Or-
you said you had the gnarly sound and you had another one after it, and you said you did like different effects and LFOs,
Yeah.
and then you added it on top. Would you consider that, would you use that as a one piece, or would it be layered throughout the song, like built in?
So I would have it separated in Ableton, and basically it's one sound, but it's, to me, like I could like have one of those muted at the beginning, say for example, do you know what I mean? Or you just have one part of it to start the track, and then just basically build it over time. But it is in essence just one sound, but it's getting like bigger and moving differently over time.
Yeah.
Does that answer?
So when you're working in the box, then do you modulate anything through Ableton, or is it all through the instruments?
I try to do as much as possible in these, so like I'll try, as I said, like do the trig conditions, which is really useful. So it just means that I basically just have, if I do like a long pass, so if I record one big long take, things are moving over time, so I don't have to do that in the box. So in the box I'll basically use a Fab Filter EQ on everything. I'll use the Sound Toys decapitator on quite a lot of things as well, just to like, it's really good for like hi-hats and things, just to make them really crispy. I use, I don't use a lot of compression to be honest with you, but if I need to, I just use the Ableton one, just the glue compressor. I use the microshift. I use that a lot actually, but I just try and keep like drums, bass always centered, and then some like more kind of mid-range sounds, like just kind of things slowly moving out the ways in the stereo field. But not like effects really and EQ, a bit of compression, but not so much modulation or anything like that.
So everything's your mixing and arranging.
Yeah, post-production kind of thing. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Really, really good. Anybody else have any questions? Really, really impressive, Kerrie. Like, well done.
Thank
I
you.
really
Thanks
like
for
it.
having me. I'm really impressed with what you're doing. It's so amazing. Honestly, it's like really. Like I know obviously you're up against it with like licensing laws and everything in Ireland, so it's like it's really admirable, like definitely.
We try our best.
Yeah.
And everyone here, thanks for making it down early. Yeah,
Just
it's
one
been,
more question.
yeah, of course. Keep them coming. We've loads of time.
Like when you're creating your structure there and your baseline, but when you do a transition into the next baseline, what are the tips that you would advise that people do to do a transition?
So like I suppose it's just about knowing your music, because like as I said, I am using loops. I'm not like what I did there was obviously like live, just making a jam on the go, but I don't really do that in the live performance, because for me, I just think of me on the dance floor and I want energy. I want like things to be like, you know, going somewhere and not too much time kind of dwelling like in certain areas or whatever. So yeah, like I just would, I mean, to be honest with you, there's nothing wrong with stripping things back when you're doing transitions, pulling things in, and then when you hit again, you get like full impact, you know. So like, or your baseline, just take it out totally and just strip it down to your kick and just use your effects and everything, and then that's the way you can just drop something totally new in next. And then like just have like. What I tend to do for the live as well is have patterns set up where it's got like just like fizzy, percussive, like, you know, things that will take you from, and I'll have like say like one sequence say on one of the patterns in the analog 4, and I'll have that on a multiple one, so I know when I go to those, that's one element that's going to stay in across, you know, like different like ideas, so it's not so like it's not shocking, do you know what I mean? There's one element that's carrying over to the next thing, but other things might change, if that makes sense. So it might be just like a percussive, like effectsy kind of. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But there's absolutely not. I used to always think, oh, everything needs to be like full transition, but it doesn't. Like people love like stop, not obviously fully stopping things, but like pulling things really into like minimal, you know, like really sparse, and then like hitting again with whatever the next thing is.
Do you use program change much? Like, you know, go from pattern A to pattern B and then all the other machines go in sync, or do you different the way it's structured?
So what I tend to do as well is when I'm making an idea, I'll use the same number and pattern across all 3 so I remember. Do you know that kind of way? So like even if in one track, it's very rare that I don't use all 3, but even if for one track I didn't use this one, I would still keep that one free, so I know that like this idea is in say AOH or whatever, and they're all kind of like the same thing. Yeah.
Here for transitions, then I guess.
Yeah.
One's following the other.
Yeah, exactly.
Just touching on what he was on with there with the program changes. When you're playing live, are you using program changes between all the devices so that they, you know, as you say, they're all on the same pattern, or are they all kind of on different patterns and you're changing?
I have to do it manually, but the way I may have made that idea initially, like they all share the same pattern number, if that makes sense. Yeah. So like, but I just have to remember. Like obviously, it's impossible to remember where everything is, so that's why I've got notes basically. So I know I can just like dive into wherever I need to go. But there isn't one. Like if I had like say the circlon, is that what you call it, the bad boy sequencer that you can just control everything with, that would be amazing, because that would change everything at once. But I just have to do it manually, basically. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, no, I just know that there's a feature on the Electron stuff where you can actually set it so that it does send program changes. So if you change from bank 1, pattern 1 to bank 1, pattern 2, it'll do it.
On 3?
Yeah.
That's news to me.
That's something that me and Charlie actually figured out together for
No
the first
way.
time we played together, and it made it way easier for us to do it.
Thank you.
Right. Yeah, no, that's interesting. Yeah. So
Yeah, I
you
didn't know
basically
that.
you're swapping between them as you're
Yeah, just constantly, like, just kind of moving between the three, really.
Yeah.
Yes, that's why those trig conditions and stuff are dead handy.
Yeah, they're very,
Yeah.
Just one other question
Yeah.
then. You know, when you're like jamming versus your like live
Mhm.
setup or whatever, do you save patches that you like and then move them over to your like live set or whatever?
Yeah,
When you're
I
done?
make note, like, I've got, like, just a big massive A4, and, like, at this moment in time, this project is totally full, so what I'll do is, soon enough now, I'll, like, go, right, I'll copy and paste the project over, and then I'll go through it, and I'll go, oh, I'm not interested in that anymore, I can go over that, so I'll basically just create space, but it just means that I don't have to change projects or anything, you know, like, I'm just copy and pasting stuff that I want to keep from previous times, and then deleting anything, but, so I just always have, like, a bank of music there, basically, for, like, for live stuff, and if I want to commit to, like, record it as well, basically. But usually, like, it's very rare that I'll go so far with an idea and then not record it. Like, I wouldn't go so far if I just wasn't feeling it. I would just scrap it, if that makes sense. So yeah, I am pretty, like, good at, like, just, like, trying to get an idea out and actually seeing it through to the end, because I just like that feeling of coming away and, like, feeling like you've done something, even if it's shit. But yeah.
Do you ever perform some of your tracks that you may have released in your live set? I know some people do it, so.
Like, so tonight there's definitely one of the ones from Tresor, I think, but I think everything else is just all new stuff.
Even elements of the tracks might be thrown in on top of something else.
Yeah, that's it. Like, I mean, over time, like, before I'd be like, oh, I have to make something new when I go to the studio every single time. But now, if I want to get going with an idea, I'll just go to a song that I've made already and just go to, because
Just change it up.
yeah, exactly. It
Something new.
never will sound exactly as it did,
Yeah.
like in your other previous ideas and stuff. But it's good to just have a starting point sometimes as well, definitely.
I found even if you use the exact same sound twice, but if it's in a different piece,
Context.
it's like
Yeah.
you could have different drums or different pads, or
Yeah, yeah,
it doesn't sound the same.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Looping back to what we said before, it's all about what you have and how you use it instead of, like, some people get very new sounds or new
Yeah.
sound, and it's really just about working with what you have, like. so.
Totally, yeah. 100%.
Question behind you?
What's your favourite synth in the studio?
I don't know, like, I think, like, as I said earlier, if there's only one piece I could keep, it would be this one, because it's just the most versatile. And, like, I've got my own kits loaded in there, and, like, we went and sampled the workshop in Sheffield a few years ago, and, like, I still use all the sounds. It's just, like, the sounds of steel, so it's perfect for techno. Like, but it's like you could bring this traveling, like, you could just work on it with headphones, you could go around wherever you're traveling and just sample the environment and just make music. So it's like, I think for me, yeah, the most versatile. But there is, like, I've got, like, a Dave Smith OB6, and that is amazing sound, and it's absolutely beautiful, like, really classic sounding 6-voice polysynth, and it's got, like, beautiful filters and everything. But that's, like, I know what I use that for, or what I need it for, I can go to and stuff. But yeah, in terms of just, like, what I probably not that I couldn't live without it, but this is probably the favourite. Yeah.
Anyone else? I see a few producers in here.
I know, yeah.
Okay,
Geeks.
so from modules, for example, you said plants is one of your favourites. What else would never leave your place?
To be honest, like, with the modular, I'm only really scratching the surface. Like, I got it, like, maybe a year or two ago, maybe 2 years ago, and I know again what I go to it for, and I've got a really cool sequencer, and the Polyend sequencer, and it's the Oxy sequencer, Oxy 1 sequencer, and then, like, it's even the sequencer alone, you could just put it on a random perform and it just sounds incredible. Like, you're just sitting there listening to, like, it making music for you. It's insane. But yeah, like, I have a few of the musical instrument stuff, and they're really good. There's another one that they have called the Beads, and that's like a granular sampler, so you can feed anything into it. I need to actually start feeding these into it, but I feed an output of the plats into that, and then basically that's really good for creating, like, layers of the original sound you've got going, but, like, just, like, really like glitchy, and yeah.
The Electron gear, I'm not too familiar with it, but do they have their own swing and groove patterns, or can you upload different groove?
There is swing functions on them,
Yeah.
yeah. Yes, to be honest, sometimes I'll just like move things off the grid myself.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Deadly.
Are you using most of the MIDI channels on the Digitech to sequence anything, or?
No, I probably should, to be honest. Like even like I could have just used this to sample to sequence the modular. Do you know what I mean? Because they are obviously brilliant, and I would just get a MIDI to CD converter. But I didn't end up getting the other sequencer. But yeah, I definitely, even though I've got them 10 years, these two, like I still don't use them to their full capacity. You know, like I use them for what I need them and what I get out of them. But they are brilliant machines. Yeah, for sure.
Did you bring the modular with you, or?
No, I don't bring it out. I don't need to because I just sample it with this.
Yeah.
So it's much more practical for if you're traveling, like especially on a plane. You just rather have the gear right. Yeah.
Again, really good. Super.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, looking forward to later.
Me too.
I had a sneak peek earlier on, and it's really, really, really good. So.
It's amazing what you've done for this room. Honestly, it's insane. Yeah, brilliant.
I guess, yeah, if people want to grab a beer or whatever, and Marina soon will be starting with some ambient sounds. Yeah, again, Kerrie, thanks so much.
No problem.
Really,
Thanks for
really
having me.
enjoyable. Of course,